Thanks for paying attention, Mike.
For the longest time. This is a report on Midway Park and what we've looked at in regard to wastewater treatment. I'm going to go, in the interest of time, fairly fast. This is only an information report. After this, we're going to do more on numbers, but more importantly, we're going to spend some time in the community. And we have one meeting September the 13th at Lions Creek Baptist Church, and we will be getting out a public notice. What we've done is we've looked at the options to serve East Midway. We've always thought that while we were going through early site evaluation that we would pump sewage to Loves Creek. It has the capacity to continue it, but it's about a 10-mile track. And if you go ahead and click to the next one, the blue line is going to Loves Creek. It's about a 10-mile track, and because of the new upgrades in the pumping station and the new part of the line, it's about a $14 million expense. The green line is going to East Bridge. It's a $13 million, and the track is 6.2 miles. The price on it is that East Bridge would have to be greatly expanded, and there's some question as to whether we could get it permitted. The red line is the line going to Sevier County. That brings in a lot of different political issues, crossing boundaries and stuff, but we thought we'd look at it. The cost is $10 million on 10 miles, and so it really doesn't look like a solution. Then we looked at putting a treatment plant on the site. And I started out looking at this thing as though it would be not appropriate for an industrial or a business park, but the more we've spent time looking at it, I think it's a very real solution, and it's about a $4 million fix. The problem with Loves Creek, East Bridge, Sevier County, and the site on the park is that it can only handle our wastewater. In other words, if any area around or in southeast Knox County wants sewer service, it's not going to get it by this investment. One of the things that, so what we've thought is prudent is to ask you eventually if you want us to take the $4 million that we would put in the on-site treatment and provide it to KUB for a water treatment plant that would service that area. That would require KUB to go and to go through the permitting process, which is about a 2-year process. I'm not sure that there's going to be another slug of cash that could be that type of pre-funder for that area. It is a it is a public policy question. Both work for us. The on-site treatment plant is very doable, and it works. And we have slides that can go through, if you want us to, what an on-site treatment plant looks like, or we will come back anytime you want us to, which I'm figuring that's your default position. But both work. We're going to go have some public hearings, some discussion, and come back to you with a whole lot of information on what people think and stuff for you to make a knowledgeable decision. And I'm sure you'll be hearing information yourself from people as we go through. This was purely an advisory, a report, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Edwards?
I do.
Commissioner Ballard?
Oh, my. What is the cost to go from to East Bridge? What's the advantage of going to East Bridge?
The advantage?
I mean, does it serve East Bridge as...
We have a treatment plant at East Bridge.
That takes care of this.
So if we were to pump to East Bridge, and all of these are largely pumped. There's some gravity, but all of them have pumping requirements. We would have to expand the plant at East Bridge, and that goes through a permitting process, And that one we're not so sure of, but the thing is, the problem, we don't know what we're picking up in an advantage on. So we expand it. We're really not serving any other area if you're going to permit one. We would much rather spend $4 million and put it on site. The three pumping makes very little sense to us once we identified the on-site solution. Now, a treatment plant that served the southeast corner, that's something you guys need to come to wrestle with and advise us, or more importantly, advise KUB.
Well, you know that I'm going to be faced with the sinkhole questions. What does on-site wastewater and the sinkholes that's there that you're aware of, is that a safer alternative than pumping it?
They are both. There is not a solution that we're looking at that would be threatened by presence of sinkhole or any other geological issues. They both have the exact same value. Well,
I guess what I'm asking, if you put something on site, is there a greater danger of the water and the waste getting into the French Broad River versus pumping it back to Loves Creek? Now I'm really getting into something, but when you're treating that amount of water, it is, if you have something that gets in it like pharmaceuticals, it is going to be better if it is diluted over a larger volume that a modern treatment plant would have going into it. That being said, these on-site treatment plants are around here. At one time, the design created a tremendous amount of odors. These have zero odors. They're underground. If you look at them, they look like a soccer field. So, I mean, it's a whole different deal. But there are advantages in having a modern sewer. Somebody, as I understand it, and I'm getting it, if somebody was to dump a whole lot of antibiotics into the water, then it's easier to have that diluted over a municipal plant than it is a treatment plant. So where does it go after it goes to Love Creek? Is it just treated there and released on the Holston River?
If it goes to Loves Creek, it's released in, I think, Holston. Yes, sir.
The advantage of that is that we don't pollute upstream and down back towards on the French Broad. If there's an advantage, if you can look at it that way.
No, I think that. The area has the potential to develop with modern sewer at a greater level than it does without. The affluent that would go into the river and what KUB is talking about doing is a tertiary treatment plant, which is a step beyond what they have in the other plants. It's not contaminated, but that's where a lot of debate's going to happen, I'm sure.
Is it similar to the one down here on Neyland Drive? Then what would go in place there?
No, it would be another level of treatment that is called tertiary. Is that right?
Which would be above the level down here on Neyland?
One of the things that if KUB was to pursue the permitting, they would have to put on proof to TDEC, and the public would have ample opportunity, not only during this process, but at that process, to assure that, and TDEC would have total assurance that what was built and served met all the EPA standards.
If the goal was to open up the area, can you do it by pumping versus the
gravity? Yeah. Every time you go up a hill, you got to pump. Every time you change the size of the line, you change the size of the pump. So, I mean, it adds the cost that a whole lot of what we have today and not in this whole East Tennessee is
going to, the cost of going to Love's Creek is a ton of pumps, because they're either new pumps or existing pumps that have to be upgraded.
I guess I'll wait and hear you a little later.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Lambert.
I just wanted to say, for what it's worth, the option that I'm most interested in is one that opens sewer up to the community in the area. I'm mildly committed to the I should say a bit more than mildly. I'm fairly committed to the industrial project, but I'm extremely committed to opening up utilities to this area. So whichever option is going to facilitate that is the one I'm going to be most in favor of.
Hey, Commissioner Frank Lutho.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question here, Mike, is what's the time frame for when we need to make a decision? And if it's fairly soon, I think that you probably need to get with our chairman and with the county mayor and facilitate so we can get together and get more extensive time to review this and have a hearing so that we can facilitate moving forward on it. So, it would be great if I could bring you something in 60 days. We really have not had any public discussion about this. We're going to spend time in that area, and we need to have that before we really start, before you all can make a knowledgeable. It is really a philosophical question. They both work for us.
Mike, there was some talk earlier on about maybe coming down the interstate with the sewer and tying in Strawberry Plains Pike. Is that still an option?
The blue is the route that the engineers say is the route, and it's got a lot to do with the topo.
Right.
And going down the interstate is something that they just don't do.
But that would open the property up down through there.
I'm here. Stand up. I was glad.
I'm Ed Medford with KEB, 4508 Hubble Lane, 37938. All the options that are listed up on the map essentially just serve the business park alone because they are forced mains as opposed to gravity mains. And so the pipes, more or less, that are demonstrated up there, or displayed on the screen, are set up to carry the flows from the business park to the different treatment facilities, whether it be at East Bridge, if we can get that permitted to handle the additional flows, or out at Love's Creek.
Mm-hmm.
The route, as far as does follow the topology, much better from the business park to Love's Creek to be treated.
So you're saying, Ed, that nobody could tie on, this is not, whatever we do would not provide sewer to different parts of the county?
That is correct.
What would it cost to provide the sewer to different parts of the county since you're running that up there to Midway Road? Would it not be advantageous to the rest of the community to be able to do something like that? And what is an additional cost for that?
Based on some preliminary studies that we've looked at, it's roughly about the same amount of cost to put a new treatment plant in that facility that would open up the southeast Knox part of the county.
So the new treatment plant facility would end up, as Commissioner Lambert indicated, providing more access to sewer in that area?
We believe so, yes.
You also have capacity issues that you will get into at Love's Creek if you were to try to pump everybody along the blue line at Love's Creek. So it becomes more expensive. It's already $14 million to get there.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Mr. Edwards, to you and your staff, thank you for coming. Y'all do a great job.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
if I could indulge to speak on that very issue about where the business park is and the growth in that particular part of the county, I would like to take about 3 minutes to speak to that, if I may.
Okay, if you'll state your name and give us your address.
It's Victor Jernigan, 108 Stekoia, Stekoia, Stekoia Lane, Suite 103, Knoxville, 37912. I First, as a disclaimer, I own property at the corner of Midway and Thorn Grove Pike. So that's the first disclaimer. The second disclaimer is that I'm in the process of trying to acquire more property in this particular area. And the reason is that this East Knoxville area, just as Northeast Knoxville was positioned for growth as soon as sewer became available, either end of Turkey Creek and took a 5-mile arc from the end of either side of that at Level Road or Campbell Station, you get an idea of the kind of development that can occur at Midway Road. The interstate exit, the business park, I believe will be a phenomenal success simply because there's so much industrial growth going on in Upper East Tennessee. And I've invited several commissioners. I have aerials of all of North Knoxville, and I invite any of the commissioners that would like to come by to my office to see how the area actually works with each other. But there are Ruggles Ferry Road, the growth, there's $1 million houses and $300,000 houses being built along Ruggles Ferry Road, and several of those larger farms are now coming up for sale. The most expensive subdivision in Knoxville, Tralee, is out on East End Road. The opportunity to be 2 miles or 3 miles from, if you are a mile and a half off of the Midway Road exit, you are still within 7 miles of a super Walmart and all the shopping that's going to be at Turkey Creek. The need for housing for people in Sevier County who want to be in the Knox County school systems will be enormous. As this moves through the public hearing, I am confident that the people who live in this area are not going to want sewer. They've resisted sewer for an exceptional period of time, and I can't speak to the fact of whether there should be an on-site plan or whether there should be a sewer treatment facility that KUB is going to put in. I will say that if the area is sewered, it will dramatically change the housing picture in all of Knox County, because you will open this area up to the thousands of people who are going to work at the business park are going to want to live in this area, and they have to have sewer if they're going to live close to where they work. The business park is going to have somewhere between 2,500 and 5,000 employees. They're going to want to live close to where they work. They have to have sewer to be able to do that. Pumping to wherever they pump it to will not be able to allow the housing to be in that immediate area. Separate from that, we have the opportunity to attract business and retail opportunities at the interchange on property that's not owned by the Knox County Development Corporation. Again, giving us enormous opportunities to offset the cost of whatever the KUB system might be. So I just wanted to touch base on that because I'm sure there's going to be an extremely controversial issue as it comes forward with the public hearings.
Okay, we've got a couple of lights on. Commissioner Lambert?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. You were comparing this area to Turkey Creek, and I just wanted to say that the sales tax alone that is generated from Turkey Creek has made a significant difference in to both Knox County and to a greater degree Knoxville City.
Well,
I guess what I'm saying is I would love to have another Turkey Creek bringing in money to Knox County that would keep us from having a tax increase for the foreseeable future.
Okay, Commissioner Hammond.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I just want to compliment Victor on his dapper look today. You look very nice. And
Thank you.